One of the strangest occurrences that I still can't explain till this day is when I go to my comments section on one of my videos or multiple videos, because YouTube shows me the latest comments on all of my videos in a little square in the YouTube studio. The occurrence of two commenters commenting pretty much the exact same thing or the exact same struggle at almost the exact same time. They don't know each other. They weren't planning on doing this. And yet they somehow comment the exact same thing. Then a lot of time goes by and no one comments that same thing at all, nothing close to it. And then it happens again. It could be on one video, it could be two videos or two completely different videos. But it's almost as if something in the world encourages two completely different people from different parts of the world to comment the same thing on two different videos of mine. That's a really weird thing. And the thing is, I could have called that a coincidence if it doesn't happen all the damn time. But it happens all the damn time, and it's really weird. It's almost as if there's something we can't see, some greater force working in the world that is influencing two people to go and comment something, as if there's some greater being. Sounds really strange, but this is how I wanted to start off my discussion on the idea of God. And I want to say the idea of God because I'm not talking about God in the dogmatic religious sense of the word. I'm talking about something that cannot be tangible or quantified. Not the man in the sky, not whatever Eastern religion considers God to be. Although my idea of God might be a little more closely related to Eastern religion. I just want to talk about the idea of it and why I believe in some sort of greater universal intelligence. There's just too many things that go on in my life that can't be explained by science. They're just too strange. I'm sure you've all felt this way too. Maybe it's something as similar as my comments. A couple people commenting the same thing from completely different areas of the world, and something has influenced them to do so. It could be just some sort of, let's say, synchronicity, and I don't mean synchronicity like angel numbers. You'll look at 1111, it's like, oh my God, that's the angel speaking to me, or whatever angel numbers is. I'm talking about you start thinking about something or setting the intention that you desire something, and it starts appearing more. And also just synchronicities apart from that. I'm trying to think of an explanation of a synchronicity not like that, but just getting the right thing at the exact moment or the wrong thing at the perfect moment too. And you don't really realize it until after the fact. And you're like, oh, now I get it. Now I realize why that happened when it did. And I can't believe it happened when it did. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Science can explain a lot of things. Science is the process of observing patterns in our environment, of testing those patterns to see if they come up enough times for us to consider them to be objective truths. So, for example, if enough of us look at a chair or a table and we all agree that that thing is a chair, then objectively it is a chair. And then with the information we do gather, like let's say information on how the brain works or other parts of the body work, we can tinker with those parts and we can use our objective truths to replicate patterns or change patterns using different chemicals, different machinery to produce some sort of optimal result. And this is how we've made medicine. This is how we've made surgical tools, things that help us heal better or live longer, or live more optimally in any sense of the word. That is what I think science should be used for. Although science can often be used for very destructive things. Let's think of like the atom bomb. That's a crazy concept in and of itself, right? Like an atom bomb splitting an atom, something we previously thought was never possible, and yet we were able to do it. We were able to create something like that. That's something else that is pretty strange about human beings in general, is we are the only species that we know of who can have an idea in our brains and manifest. I know that word is kind of a buzzword now, thanks to egotistical spiritual people. We can manifest almost any idea in our head into reality. The craziest ideas that we thought weren't possible or we weren't capable of, eventually the technology gets made where we can create that sort of thing. There's a funny meme that I posted on my story a long time ago, which was a meme that was showing like a broad expanse of nature with plains and grass and water. And the caption was like, how the fuck did Wi-Fi come from this? Pretty true, right? Who had the fucking idea for Wi-Fi? Like, how do we figure these things out? That's humans, though. We take things from our imagination and we can produce it in our reality through useful things like science, and then also things that would be considered completely delusional to some people just have eventually actually become true in our reality. So there's many unseen forces at play here, right? There's many unseen forces in our environment that we can tap into eventually with the right technology or with the right imaginative source from our minds. There's so much we cannot see or access due to the limitations of our organism. And the things beyond our limitations, I believe that's part of an essence of what perhaps God is. Something that is affecting what we can't see, hear, touch, smell. What's the other sense? Taste, that's what it is. What we can't taste, see, hear, touch, or smell. Outside of that is something we can tap into. And you could say that's almost tapping into the divine. That's tapping into God, tapping into the things that move our world that we have no way of perceiving. Perhaps God doesn't even know that them, let's not mispronoun. Let's not misgender God, right? I don't know if God is a he or she or they, but they might not even be aware that they have made our universe. We could just all be an idea in somebody's head. I don't want to give you an existential crisis, but sorry. I was thinking about that earlier. It's like, yeah, our universe could exist on another being's like fingernail. I don't fucking know. That's getting way out there. But these are interesting things to think about. I think believing that there's some sort of higher intelligence or force acting upon the universe in some way and tapping into that in some way can help restore your faith in the future of your life. That's why I think believing in something of a higher power is useful. You could say I'm deluding myself. Maybe I am. I was deluding myself when I said I'm going to be a successful YouTuber and 99% of channels fail. You got to be a little delusional in the right way sometimes. And I think faith is one of those delusions. One of those things you can't scientifically prove is God or the idea of God. But having faith in something like that and trusting that the universe sometimes knows better than you do, and that you should listen to whatever direction it's trying to push you in, I think that's really useful at a certain point in your life. This is tricky to explain, but I'm going to do my best. I think if you're totally unaligned with who you're meant to be, you're ingenuine, you are very disconnected from your body, you don't take care of yourself, you feed yourself with negative thoughts all the time, then you're not going to be connected to the higher intelligence as well. And you're naturally going to want to do shitty things because that's the level of whatever you want to say. We'll use the word frequency, again, spiritual woo-woo type of word, but we can say that just for the purpose of trying to complete a coherent sentence. So you're on a, let's say, lower frequency, and so naturally you're going to be pushed to do shittier things. Like, I mean, if you watch porn all day, if you drink alcohol all the time, you don't sleep well, you hang around shitty people, you're naturally going to be pushed by the unforeseen forces of our universe to do shitty things and continue that trend. But once you tap back into who you were meant to be, I suppose, and there is the highest version of oneself that exists technically in our imagination, and that's just as easy to actualize as any other crazy thing humans have actualized from their imagination. Once you start being more aligned with that version, then you get closer to that version, and the universe is naturally going to push you to do things that get you to that version, maybe not quicker, but I don't know, more efficiently, better. Like, this shouldn't really be controversial. You do shittier things, you're going to be attracted to more shitty things, and you're going to have a habit of wanting to do shitty things. It's kind of like habit building. Like, once you build an identity where you're doing a lot of great things, then naturally you're going to want to put in good work and do more good things for yourself because you think highly of yourself. But I also think there's more of like the otherworldly universal intelligence aspect of it, where you might not even know why you feel pushed to a certain person or a certain activity, but something's calling you to it. And if you've been really taking care of yourself and you're fully aligned with yourself and you live genuinely, which I think can best be achieved by not lying to yourself. That's when shit starts to get bad. When you stop listening to your inner voice and you start lying to yourself, making excuses about why you're in such a shitty position, why you sleep late, and secretly you know that's all bullshit and you know you could be doing more. Once you stop making excuses and start listening to that inner voice that is screaming at you to do more, to be better, because I think everybody has that, but it becomes very shrouded by other people's opinions about what you should do, or your negative inner voice, which has been programmed and conditioned into you by other people who have spoken badly about you. That's what a lot of what negative inner voices are. They're a conditioning. Once you rid yourself of that and you start doing more positive things on a daily basis, and you don't lie to yourself, and you do the thing that at first gut instinct is the thing that you feel like you should do, and it's positive, the more you do that, the more you are aligned, let's say. And so the more that you do that, the more you're going to be pushed towards things that you don't really understand until hindsight, until you've done the thing and you're like, I'm so glad I listened to whatever the fuck that was, which I call higher universal intelligence, God, whatever, the unseen forces. Most recently, I have been getting this calling to write a book. It's going to be a fiction book. And I'm going to market it as the world's first self-improvement fiction book. Technically, all fiction books are self-improvement books. If you really think about it, they all involve a character who goes through a journey and learns lessons and gets better, and you feel very attached to this person and you feel like you took something away from the book. But nobody really markets their fiction books like that. So I feel like that would be a good way to present the book. But I have no idea why there's something inside of me right now, because I've had this idea for the book for years, but I haven't really felt called to it. Nothing within me has really said, time to go write this book. But recently, it's really been screaming at me, that inner voice that knows what I should be doing better than my own conscious self. And so soon I would like to start writing that fiction book. I've got a lot on my plate now. I just added another thing thanks to this channel. But I would like to start writing that book. And I already have some ideas for the premise. I know it's going to be relatable, and I want the majority of my demographic, like 18 to 25, to relate to the main character in the journey they go through. And it's going to have a lot of different insights and everything. So just want to mention that, and it does relate to what we're talking about here, because I don't know why I feel so called to that right now. And maybe I don't need to know. Maybe I just need to listen and start. So maybe you have that thing as well, but you don't have enough faith that it's the right thing to do. If it feels positive, if it doesn't feel like those negative conditioned voices that are layered on top of that true inner voice, and you can tell like intuitively, that's the thing you should be doing. That's the thing you should be moving towards. But you can't keep lying to yourself, or you're never going to tap into that. You can't keep making excuses for a life you know you're not aligned with and you know you shouldn't be living. And you're like, how did I get here? There's so many distractions in the modern world that takes you away from that inner voice and silences it. So many. Holy shit. That's why people are so misaligned. Part of the reason. So isolation as well, and boredom, and sitting with your thoughts to reconnect with that is also super important. That's when you start to feel this presence of the divine, the God, the universal intelligence more. The whole idea of existing is absurd, truly. It is. It really is. And another way I've tapped into that idea, and perhaps understanding that there's so much we cannot ever understand or see in our world that is moving the shape of reality as we know it, are psychedelics. I don't really talk about them a lot on my main channel. I think they should be used with caution. I think you should only do them in a professional setting. And I don't want to recommend them because a lot of people do have bad experiences with psychedelics. I'm just talking about my personal experience. When on psychedelics, I do feel a lot more connected with things, realizing that I am not just this body. I think all of us have had sort of like an out-of-body ego death type of experience before, where we felt like everything around us and we are connected to everything. Psychedelics really enhances that, personally for me. I haven't taken them in a long time because I haven't felt like I needed to. But that was also something else that I think like made me realize, okay, a lot of things are possible that I thought weren't possible. And I don't really fully understand what's going on here. What psychedelics do is they activate different parts of your brain that usually aren't activated at all, I think, or just way less activated. And so you start to perceive things differently. You start to see things in your environment that you didn't have access to but have always been there. Now, you could just call this hallucinations. And that's true too, but technically reality itself when you're sober is also a hallucination because your brain is only focusing and perceiving the things that are congruent or related to your survival. So for example, like I pay a lot more attention to a bus coming at me than anything else around me when a bus is coming at me, because your brain chooses, okay, this thing is about to hit you. This is the thing you should focus on the most to avoid dying. It's doing that at all moments, but in a much less aggressive way. So there's a lot of things your brain in your environment, there's a lot of things that your brain is choosing not to focus on in your environment because it isn't related to your survival. And you stop caring so much about your survival on psychedelics, which is also, that's kind of a bad thing, so you shouldn't do them all the time. And you start being tapped into more of like an out-of-body experience that your ego stops caring as much. You stop caring so much about survival and your five senses, and you just allow yourself to be tapped into whatever the fuck this consciousness is. Very strange, very, very strange experiences. Yeah, just think about how much more there is out there that you can understand and see, and start to tap more into that inner voice and pay attention more to when things are coincidences or synchronizing, and when something's calling to you to do it and you've felt more aligned and you feel like you're in a positive high state, go and fucking do that thing. Because I'm about to go and start writing this book. And I don't know why, but I have faith in whatever is guiding me towards that action, that it is going to guide me to an optimal life experience or an optimal highest version of myself. Because I always try to do the things that are most aligned with the most optimal version of myself on a daily basis. So I'm naturally gravitated towards those things. You're capable of a lot more than you realize. I hope you know that. There's a lot of things you can't understand or see yet that might make sense in the future, and that we might have the technology to understand in the future. But there's always going to be a bit of that mysticism, not knowing, and trusting that inner guidance. Because there is a highest version of you out there that exists in some plane of reality, which is just your imagination right now. But it can come to this reality, this objective reality, the reality we perceive. Listen to that inner voice more. Stop making excuses, do the right things, have faith in this higher power. That could be, you could devote yourself to religion. Me personally, I don't think I subscribe to any singular religious ideology, but I like these ideas that I've just talked about. I think it helps me live life better and not regret what I do, and trust that I'm doing the right things more, and let go when this higher intelligence tells me I need to let go of this thing and I don't know why. Hope this was helpful. I had a pee.